Well, and that's one thing that you're going to have to forfeit. You're going to have to, be willing to be ridiculed. Anybody who has any type of new information or trying to actually revive old information at that, you're going to have to be willing to be ridiculed and demonized by the rest of your peers. So.
All right. So, and even if, like me, you manage to pull out of that and not have any peers, or disappear into some secret government laboratory, or just do it all out in the bushes, what is very evident right now on the internet is there's a massive defamation campaign to make me look like a monkey and all this stuff and that stuff, because it was not successful to stop me by the other methods.
Mm-hmm.
So now it just turns into a wholesale defamation. This group calls themselves Ether Force, so exists specifically to debase my work and keep people on a false path. It's kind of nice stuff to look at something like that, but that's just the way it is in this business, as you explained.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, welcome to the walk of Jesus. You know what I'm saying? It was the same thing with him. Someone who brought forth light and understanding and grace and peace into the world was called, was accused of being a idolater and one who consulted with demons and followed Satan, by his peers. So
by the people that did that very thing.
Same people he was trying to help. Yeah, those who were consulting with Satan,
So I in a certain sense, this defamation and all this stuff, because I don't avail myself to the internet. I live in the bushes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a feral human.
Mm-hmm.
So I write stuff and I drop it, in the post office, and it disappears out of my sight, and it appears on the internet. But as I become a personality or whatever on the internet, initially, and it's still the situation. Well, sure enough, this negative forces come about, and it's attempting to be very disruptive. It could turn out to be deadly.
Mm-hmm.
It brings me back to the notions of John Lennon and what happened to him.
Yeah. He's just one of many. I mean.
Yeah, but in my case, I think John Lennon really is a comparative example, and that's what I'm worried about.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm doing a kindred type of operation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm making this popular. People are really getting into this. They're into it already. It's just that I have this ability to quantify certain things that, particularly in electrical work, that, makes things much more apparent. You can actually build equipment out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that gets people more excited. It creates more of a movement of what's going on, even though that's not really my aim in life. But that's what's happening, and that's what people want. And, it does buy gas for the car and food and all that.
I think you're doing a justice to the human race. I think that you have everyone's best interest in mind. I don't think that you're in it for greed. I don't think that you're in it. I think that you're in it for the science, and that you're in it for understanding that you are a free man and that all human beings are free men to experience life and to the abundance and the best life that they can, and to let them know what's going on. And these different, things are happening. Different sciences do exist, and you're giving us, the breakdown on it and the deep inner workings of it. And, the work that you're doing goes far beyond the topics on this show. I kind of approach things, from a spiritual standpoint, and you're actually breaking down the science of everything that I believe. You're breaking down the science of the Christian faith. You're breaking down the science of the Hindus, the Buddhists, Islam, all those who understand that a world exists beyond this mundane things that we can touch, and it is a world of electromagnetic frequencies. They call different names in different holy books. They can be tapped into. They are being tapped into now. So I'm going to put your work out there. I'm going to share your work with my fans, my listeners. And so there was a lot of people who were wanting to tune into this show. I put the show out there that we was going to do it, and we have a lot of people listening live, a lot of people who are going to go back on YouTube and listen to the show again. So it's there. And I think that there's an innocence there as far as you're not trying to push your work, or you're not trying to propagate your work. You're simply sharing your work. You're putting it out there, and those individuals who want the higher understanding of it, who want to know how it works and operates, they're going to find you. They're going to Google your name. They're going to Google topics that relate to it, and they're going to find you, just like I found you. And that's just how this cycle is working. So thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you for putting your neck out there. I speak blessings over you, just like I speak it over that water, and that everything will line up perfectly with your will, and your destiny will, come forth, and you won't be taken out, that you will be protected. And I believe in what you're doing. So with that being said, we got another call. Let's see if we got a question here. Caller, you're on there.
Hello.
What's up?
Hey, how's it going? I've been following Eric's work for quite a while now, and researching other people's works. I've come across Marco Rodin's vortex-based mathematics, and on the website here, it says one of the things you can learn through it is that torus skin models harmonic cascadance. And I noticed in Tesla's magnifying transmitter that there's actually a torus almost antenna at the top. I was wondering if Eric had any thoughts on that connection between the torus and transmission.
The terminal on the Tesla transformer is a reflector. It doesn't actually transmit. It sends the electricity back down where it's accelerated and forced into the earth.
Okay.
And the reason why it has that mushroom shape, it has to have that mushroom cap type of shape, because that way the electrical forces are directed in such a way that the material around the high potential point doesn't break down and catch on fire. And that particular shape causes the electrification to neutralize itself underneath the cap of the mushroom so that the mass doesn't catch on fire.
Okay. I was actually thinking the resonance of the Earth was actually transmitted out through that. I had it completely backwards.
No, that's backwards has been deliberately introduced, and unfortunately, the concept cannot be corrected. So no one will ever really grasp Tesla's toroid transmission system, because the physicists have fixated the idea of an antenna. There is no such thing. Tesla states that even in his own writings. But he did intend to try to tap the electric field around that elevated terminal for other purposes, but everything that involves Tesla is very enigmatic.
Well, thank you very much. That definitely changes my understanding of the whole thing. I thought I had a pretty good grasp on it, but now I know I don't.
So I was wanting to know also about some of the different experiences that you've had, because I noticed in some of your work you're talking about how the different music and different tones can actually make you feel high, in a sense, and make you feel intoxicated just by listening to music. Do you have any experiences with that?
Well, it's kind of almost a daily experience for me. Because I have my Bose 901s and my 400-watt amplifier and all my back organ music and handle choruses, and that's the end of every day. That's there's about a 4-hour interval there where if I can clear my mind from the noise and negativity and the rest of the stuff, and tune into the music, that it creates the transformation.
So it's, I guess, less of a mystical experience and more of just a daily practice that gets your body in tune and feeling good.
Yeah, and also it helps me write the stuff that, particularly the polyphase mathematics and all those type of things, is in the music, and the mathematical work merges into one. So when I'm listening to the music, then all the equations that I'm developing just pop right out of the music. And then conversely, I just came back from somebody had managed to save from destruction a massive Bell telephone switching facility. It's absolutely stupendous the work this guy did reassembling it. There's 500,000 connections he had to make. It's what's called a step-by-step system. It was the original telephone system. And after living in that building for 10 days and tuning into how the whole thing worked, and, it's basically, it took me 12 years to fully understand the whole thing, but just getting the overview and all that. When I came back and put the block and the handle on, the music had a whole different dimension, because the way that the switching system operated was very akin to how the music operated, and I've heard the music in a way that I'd never heard it before until I had that experience with the telephone exchange.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of works both ways.
Okay. So I know I talked to you. You mentioned going out to the woods and things like that. Can you maybe touch about your experiences about what that can do for you as well, going out and being in tune with nature and how almost maybe resetting yourself?
Well, it's the same situation as then you're in the natural archetypes,
Mm-hmm.
which are quite pronounced because the archetypes, determine the shape of all living organisms. And when you're out in nature, you're amongst all these organisms. And after you're out there enough, and you stay out of Babylon long enough that your senses aren't distorted, you see that there's a geometric archetype or a pattern that ties all this stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize that it's not a bunch of separate entities, that you're existing inside a situation that's basically like, sitting in a dark room and closing your eyes and listening to Bach or Handel.
Mm-hmm.
And a similar situation also in this facility that I just made mention of, because the particular way that Bell Telephone operated was truly the eighth wonder of the world. And there was a guy there that, wondered why the guy who built the thing and why myself, why we were attracted to this and why the sounds it made all the time while it was working didn't bother us and what the deal was. And I had just come out of the woods at that point in a very extensive direct contact with the forest for weeks and weeks. And then when I got in there with all those, beams of colored wires and the way that all the components are geometrically patterned and all that, I told them, well, here's what's going on, is the reason why this turns me on is the exact same reason why the forest turns me on.
Mm-hmm.
Or the music of Bach does.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of that level of archetype and it immediately suggests intelligent design, and that's what gets people high.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I still couldn't get it.
No, hey, I get it.
To him, it was just a bunch of relays and wire. Just like when they go in the forest, there's a bunch of trees and weeds, and, that's all it is, and then they go back in their trailer and they fire up the generator and they watch the game. Well, why didn't they stay home?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess to kind of tie this question together, there's a renaissance of a practice of what is called grounding. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but where people, they just are going back to walking barefoot when they can and putting their feet on the ground to ground their energies and feel the energies from the earth moving through their body. And if we're talking about, magnetism or we're talking about electricity, grounding is basically 101 with that. Is there any truth behind grounding?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's I went for 2 years straight in Pădureț once without wearing shoes at all.
Mm-hmm.
I could walk through the blackberry bushes and the whole thing after a while, and that's definitely, there's something about that physical contact with the ground where electrostatically, then, you are at ground potential, where if you're wearing shoes, you're at an arbitrary potential, which, when you're walking on a carpet, you find when you touch the doorknob, can reach a potential of 25,000 volts or more.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, at one time, I actually managed to get it up to 500,000 volts, somewhat accidentally, and a spark jumped off of my side across the hallway to a fire sprinkler pipe, about maybe 4 feet long. That's 750,000 volts, most likely, or somewhere 500,000 volts.
Okay. Now I think I had the phrase wrong. It's not grounding. It's called earthing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, the British prefer to use the term earth connection, and America prefers to use the term ground connection.
Well, it almost, like if you got a lot of stuff going on in your life and stuff, can it work as something that almost resets you, that it literally grounds you back to, what matters? Just getting out in nature, taking your shoes off, being more conscious about things that are going on and, that actually matter.
Well, it's going to do the same thing we've just been talking about with music.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be on a less physical level.
Yeah.
It's going to be very similar to the situation in the church. There's going to be days when the voltage is high. There's going to be days when the voltage is low. It will depend on all these, cosmic forces that the vegetation's actually, like an antenna tuned into.
Mm-hmm.
And even the animals.
Yeah.